Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk about Soulworker, a not so new MMORPG that I found on Steam the other day. Now, some of you may already be familiar with Soulworker, and if you are, fair warning, this might not be the video for you because I'm still very new to the game. The purpose of this video is more for those of you like me who have never heard of Soulworker before and just want to know what the hell this game actually is and if it's worth trying out for a few hours since it's free on Steam. I'll be going over the things I like, the things I don't like, and just some of the things I'm more or less indifferent about, all in hopes to help you figure out if this is worth the disk space to download or not, go play in other games, or play this while you're waiting for other games. PSO2 New Genesis. Okay. Alright, so to start us off, some basic information about Soulworker. And Soulworker is a Korean-made action MMORPG with a very weebish anime art style, as you can tell by the gameplay that'll be going on. You may think this is a new game judging by the Steam page release date, but this game has actually been out for a while now. Due to a change in publishing rights and whatnot, the game has been re-released globally on Steam, and that's where my, albeit very limited, experience with the game begins. If you want to know about the changes from what Soulworker was to what it is now, and what all these new publishing changes mean for the game, there's a lot of other videos that will give you greater insight on those things. I'm not the person to ask because I didn't play it before the global release. So we won't really spend much time. With all that said, this game is at its core an anime action MMO, not like WoW, think more like PSO2. With its mission structure and everything like that. You have a cast of characters to pick from, all with different abilities and skill trees that you can customize, and then you take them into missions to collect gear, level up, and all the normal things that come with these types of games. If you're still with me at this point, I'm going to start going into my thoughts so far on the game. As I've said before, and I'll probably say it multiple times again, I'm no expert on Soulworker. But if you just want a TLDR, long story short, it's a pretty good game, and I'd say that it's worth a look, but it's not the strongest recommendation I can make. There's a few things that maybe, may not. It depends on who you are as a person, which you'll know if it's for you or not. So let's go ahead and just start with the good things and the things that I like about the game. So I'm going to start the good with something that has actually surprised me throughout my limited playtime, and that's the combat. The game uses an action combat system that boils down to hack and slash gameplay mixed with a combo heavy skill system. So in between your hack and slash attack string, you can activate abilities that can then be comboed into other abilities up to 3 times, with each level of the combo doing more damage. The decision on what abilities will synergize well with each other and which to put last to maximize the damage benefits is something that I've really been enjoying in my short time of playing. I can't speak to late game, but when you're starting out, it's really fun combat system that does require a bit of thought to get the most out of it. You could just plug and play abilities and just go at it, but if you want to get the most out of it, you do have to think a little bit. It's not the most complex mechanically speaking, but there is a degree of freedom and agency that I find fun and is what's really propelled me to play the game past like the initial few hours of just like figuring it out. So with that, what's the point of killing things and enjoying the combat if you don't get anything out of that? And that's what we're going to talk about gear next. So I'm going to put gear and just the items aspect of the game tentatively into my I like it category, but it does have some caveats to it. So this one is tricky because what you actually get from killing things is basically worthless up until later in the game, because you should just be dismantling it for material, at least up until later on. From what I've been told, it's upwards to around like the level 55 mark. Nothing you get matters for the most part. You may be saying that sounds like a negative, but the important thing you get from killing things and just generally playing the game is XP, and with every 5 levels you get a box that gives you weapons and armor that's better than anything you're going to find elsewhere while you're playing the game. And personally, I like that system more. I've never liked getting gear that can be replaced by the next mob, so this kind of eliminates that micromanagement and allows you to stock up on upgrade materials for later in the game. From what I've heard though, it does get pretty expensive to try and like max out your gear towards the later end of the game to do like the raids and stuff they have, so I don't know how much it actually helps you in the long run, but I do like it better. So to round out the things that I like about the game and I think are good, I'll talk about what initially drew me into the game, and that's waifus. If you're like me, which is a degenerate weeb, then I can at least recommend this game on the waifus alone. If you're a fan of the style that you see on screen, like how the characters look, they definitely give you some fan service with the costumes and just overall character design. And for me, that is a positive. That's something I like. I understand it's not for everybody, but you know who you are if you like it, and if you do, this game's got it. While most customization comes from the cash shop, which I'll get into a little bit later, there are some things you can earn in game and you can style your waifu with without spending actual like money on it, just in a much more limited capacity than if you were to just go buy the outfits. However, I'm not sure if this is like a regular occurrence or like everybody gets it or like every character gets one, but I did get an item on my main character that allowed me to unlock like a full outfit that I'd normally have to buy. So there are other options. I'm just not sure the extent or up to what point you can customize your character as a fully free player. But with that, we're closing out the good section, and now we're going to go into things I'm just kind of more indifferent about. To start it off, we're going to start off with alts and the alt characters in the game. So the game is very alt friendly in regard to letting you make one of every character for free without charging you anything, which is great because that means you get more waifus. But that being said, currently there's no way to transfer stuff from one character to another. Now, going back to how the gear works, this hasn't been a terrible issue so far because they still get the level 5 package or package every 5 levels as well, like you do on your main account. That being said, it's still a massive oversight for the game that seems to be built for alt, especially with like the stamina fatigue system, which we'll do more on that later. This is one of those things that if I play more, I could easily see turning into like one of those strong dislikes going forward, but this is something that could be easily fixed. I'm not sure if there are plans for it to currently be fixed. I don't know if it was different in old Soulworker or not, but currently as it stands, that's how it is, so just keep that in mind. Next thing on my list is going to be half of the cash shop. The other half of the cash shop, you can probably guess where that's going to wind up on how I feel about the game, but this half of the cash shop is going to be the specifically the cosmetic side of the cash shop, which is, bear with me here, the pay to win, like pay to play side of the cash shop is definitely one of those things I don't like, and we'll hear more about that later. But the cosmetic side of the shop isn't too egregious in my opinion. The costume bundles they sell aren't super overpriced. If you play something like Valorant, you're paying $100 for skins and things like that. For me, like $30 to get a succubus waifu or like $19 to get a nurse waifu. Okay, you know, especially if you're putting hours into the game, it's an MMO. I don't think it's that crazily overpriced. Another good thing about it, I guess you could call it a good thing, since it's going to be in there because it's a free-to-play game, you can buy small amounts of their premium currency, so you can avoid that classic problem of having to buy like $30 worth of currency to buy something that costs like should be $24 of currency. I do think they should drop the whole like 3% discount tag, you know, like they show everything as a discount, but it's like 3, 4, 6%. I think that's kind of bullshit. But it is a free game and they got to support it somehow, and it doesn't really break the bank unless you just go completely overboard. You can make your waifu into a maid, so whatever, I guess, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So that's what I'm indifferent about it. You can see why this section is the indifferent section. The next up on the indifferent section is going to be the story and translation. For the story, I'm going to tie translation in because I think it's worth a mention. I'll be honest, I was vibing with the story for the first few hours, especially if you do some alt hopping, because the dialogue they have can be different between each of them, only a little bit, but it's still a little different. But damn, is it text heavy, and by this point I just skip everything, and honestly I have no clue what's going on in the story. Maybe that's just more on me type thing, but there's a lot of reading. This is pretty par for the course for games like this though, and I doubt anyone's really coming into this game for lore. I mean, you get succubus maid waifus, so that's probably not why you're here. But it does kind of suck because, like I said, I was decently interested in the beginning with what's going on, but it's just too much reading at this point for me. Something that doesn't help the situation is some of the odd translation errors or misinterpretations, it seems. I'm not bilingual or anything, but some descriptions and other text in the game had made me do a double take, and at the worst, it's caused me to look up an item and what it does or whatever, because the description makes no sense and is no help. That being said, like, those things that I just listed off aren't enough to keep me from playing the game. I'm still enjoying playing the game. It's just things that like are kind of inconveniences, like but they don't stop you from playing the game. Now, the next few things are things that make me stop and consider, how much time do I actually want to put into this game? Is it worth putting time into this game? So to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this game, we're just going to jump into the bad aspects of the game in my eyes. First and foremost, the thing that scares me the most about the game is the stamina / like fatigue system. And that's not like, you know, how long you can run, but I'm talking about like how much content you can do in a day until you can't do any more. And I say this scares me because so far I haven't depleted all of the fatigue gauge or whatever, and it seems like the game gives you a good amount so far, but like I've been saying, I'm early in the game. Late game, it could be completely different. Regardless, any system like this in any game is something that I just really don't like. And combine this with not being able to transfer gear from one character to another makes this entire system just completely suck. I've played games with similar mechanics in the past, and every time there comes a point where it bites you in the ass and just kind of kills the experience. Even with being so alt friendly, aside from the transferring, I still think the system needs to go, period. Get it out of there. Just get it out. I don't agree with this ever in any game. And kind of along the topic of the game trying to limit your play and things like that, I guess now seems like a good time to bring up the other half of the cash shop that I mentioned earlier. I won't take too long on this because you can probably assume what it's like if you've played a game like this before. If you see what you're seeing on screen and you recognize it, you probably can guess what the cash shop is like. You can pay for quote-unquote convenience items in the game, and for a casual player, you probably won't need them, especially starting out. They give you a lot of stuff to try and get you hooked, like any other game like this. Give you a lot of stuff, get you hooked. Once you get to late game, that's when you have to start looking at buying these convenience items and things like that. So like if you want to grind and get on the leaderboards, there's like a little league thing, which I have not even touched yet, so I can't speak to that, but there's like a league thing, leaderboards and all that. Be prepared to pay to win in that regard. I'm sure you can do it without it, but you're gonna have to be grinding a lot more, and there's that stupid fatigue gauge also that might keep you from really getting up there with the people who can just drop hundreds of dollars to get the right stuff. I mean, it's a free game, yes, and that's why I think the cosmetic thing is, I'm indifferent towards it. It's not terrible. Yeah, they also want your money and they want to get whatever they can out of you. It's not the most aggressive pay to win stuff I've seen from like the lower end, like from like the new player perspective, but either way it still sucks and needs to be addressed, or at least brought up here for you to know if you are going to be playing this game. Next is the servers and like technical issues. I haven't had any too bad just like technical issues once I've been in the game. It's worked really well. Nothing like crazy has happened that's like bricked my computer or whatever. I've had a few times where I'll go into a loading screen after completing a mission and it'll just freeze and stop responding, and I have to restart, and after one restart it doesn't do it again, but that has happened. Now on the other hand, the servers, I am happy to report that I haven't had any issues within the past week or so of playing. The servers seem to be better now, but I'm leaving this server part in here because in the beginning I couldn't play the game. Like, it was just impossible for me to play. Like, when I first downloaded it, it did not work. So I'm leaving this in here because server issues have happened before. They seem to have worked it out, but it could always pop up again. And if it does, from my experience, there's nothing you can do. Like, it doesn't work. And that's kind of it as far as the issues I've had technically wise. The last thing I'm going to talk about is like the overall missions and level layout. And this is borderline indifferent category. So you can take this whichever way you think it would fit you, how much you think you would care. But the locations and missions themselves are average at best, and maybe they're better if you get like really into the story or play with friends. I've been playing solo the whole time, but otherwise they're just meh. The graphics are about what you would expect, so that's not the negative here. I didn't go into this thinking for crazy graphics. It's more the level layout that's the issue, which is... So the levels are quick, easy, and straightforward to like get through, which is good. And it's good because there's a lot of completing the same missions, which means the same level with the same layout over and over. And after a point, it can get repetitive and kind of tedious, especially with them being like so bland sometimes. I say it's borderline in the indifferent category because the combat is so fun, I almost don't mind it. But if I was really grinding this game out, it would probably start to wear me down a little bit. This is the last negative of my bad things about the game, but still, it's not great and it's worth a mention. I figured I'd put it in here just so you would know. Well, if you found this video helpful in any way, go ahead, leave a like maybe subscribe, or don't. That's fine. If you're a Soulworker pro who's played since like 2017 or whatever, and you know all about this game, if there's anything like glaring that I overmissed that a new person should know, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Like I said, there's a lot I didn't really get into because I didn't want to make a super long video about this game because I haven't played it that much. But with all that being said, I want to make a video on PSO2 New Genesis when that comes out next week. So maybe look out for that. Maybe don't. I'm terrible at making videos. I don't know. Either way, have a great day.